Right. So if you want to buy a business without risking your life savings, it might sound crazy, but it's not. I've done it dozens of times at this point. I've helped people just like you buy companies with little money down using banks, investors, and even the seller's money. And the best part is that statistically, buying a business is way safer than starting one from scratch. I'm Moran, Pober, by the way, I've been involved at this point in over $1 billion worth of acquisitions, and I currently run rollups and acquisitions.com. We've helped thousands of people at this point, from solo entrepreneurs to small business owners to private equity firms, buy profitable businesses the smart way. So let's dive in right now with 15 lessons on how to buy a business with less risk than you probably even imagined. Starting with lesson number one, which is don't start a business, buy a business that's already working, right? So, what that means, you know what's risky is spending 2 years of your life trying to build something from zero, burning money, hustling for customers, hoping that it works. But when you buy a business that's already profitable, you skip all of that. You walk into cash flow on day one, right? For example, we bought a cleaning company with one of our clients doing 1.2 million a year in revenue. He paid about $300,000 for it using mostly other people's money, right? So the business was already running. He just had to show up and just not mess things up, right? It's very difficult to do something like that from scratch, which moves me to lesson number two. SBA loans are safer than you think. And here's what most people don't know. The default rate, so the failure on SBA acquisitions loans, is less than 6%. And it means that out of 100 people who take one of these loans, 94 or so are just fine, right? So it's really crazy low compared to other risks in life if you think about it. And if you don't believe me, just let me give you a perspective, right? So, for example, the chance of getting divorced in 10 years is around 25 to 40%. Losing your job is over 20%. Getting in a car accident, that's between 25 to 35%. Starting your own business, that's 50 to 70% chance of failure, especially if you raise capital from venture capital firms. So, yeah, buying a business with SBA loan, I mean, it's actually one of the safer bets you can make. Which moves me to lesson number three. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Right? So if you just jump into a deal without knowing how to read the numbers or vet the business, that's risky. But if you know what to look for, let's say like customer concentration, like profit margins, like retention rates, things like that, you can spot the red flags really early. I've helped one of our clients avoid a terrible deal just because we noticed that the biggest client made up 80% of the revenue of the business. Right? So it's one switch away from disaster. And we were able to negotiate a much better deal after. Lesson number four is buy boring, profitable businesses. Forget about apps, forget about AI, forget about becoming the next SpaceX or Tesla. Trust me, I made a lot of those mistakes as well, sometimes trying to go for the sexiest sector. Go buy the guy who owns three laundromats or the woman who runs logistics company with FedEx contracts. Like, we've helped a guy buy a septic tank cleaning business. It's not sexy, but it prints 500,000 a year in profit, right? People always need it. There's zero churn, and there's no, like the tech bros that are coming to disrupt that industry. So boring can be beautiful if you know where to find those deals. Which moves me to lesson number five. Seller financing reduces your risk. So what that means? It means that when the seller lets you pay part of the deal over time, and it shows when that happens that they believe that the business will keep performing. So think about it. If they thought it was about to crash, they would want all their money upfront. Like one of our clients got 40% of the deal financed by the seller. It's not too bad, right? Then he only needed to raise 60% of the purchase price from other sources. In the past, I was doing 100% seller financing deals, and I had few clients doing it also. It's not happening too many times, and obviously it's not for the best businesses, but those happens as well. Moving to lesson number 6. You can start with less money than you think, right? So most people think you need millions to buy a business. It's not the case, especially with SBA loans, for example, which is one of the structure that I mentioned. And if you put like seller financing alongside of it, you can get into a deal with like 5 to 10% down. So we got tons of clients who started with 50,000 or even 5,000 or less in some deals. So it's not about how much cash you have, it's more about knowing how to structure the deals and collect capital from different sources to close on a deal. Moves me to lesson number 7. I suggest to start thinking of it like buying a job at first, but a high paying job, right? So what it means, some people to buy a business, they're leaving let's say 80,000 corporate jobs and they're buying businesses that pay them 250,000 a year, let's say, right? In that case, it's not about passive income right away. It's about replacing your job first with something that you own and control. And yes, you can do right away, like finding a manager, but I suggest that only once the business is stable, at least initially, then I suggest you go and hire a general manager and make it more of a hands-off business investment if you want, right? Lesson number 8 is that the operator is everything. If you're not the one running the day-to-day, you'd better know exactly who that is, right? So the number one way of a business, number one way for a business to fail post-acquisition is because of bad operations. Like for example, we helped someone buy a roofing company and the seller stayed for 6 months to train a new GM. That one thing, I believe, saved the deal. Right? Just having that transition, having that right training, having connection with the seller and operator, super crucial. And by the way, if you want my help and my team's help to buy a business faster with less risk and also help you find the right deal, secure capital, if it's SBA loans or investors or other type of financing structures, and making sure that the business is actually a good deal, we'll put a link below this video where you can book a call with us. We'll talk, see if it's a fit for both sides. And in the end, we'll see if we can help you buy a business doing usually above $1 million a year in revenues, at least in the next 3 to 12 months. All right, back to it. So lesson number 9, use earnouts to hedge uncertainty if possible. So let's say you're unsure about how stable the revenue is, right? You need to know that you don't have to pay everything up front for a business. You can use an earnout. The meaning is that you can only pay, let's say, that extra $100,000 or $200,000 if the business actually hits goals that they told you about, right? So then if they were lying or overly optimistic about the business, you keep that money and you don't necessarily pay that extra. Lesson number 10, don't buy 3 businesses at once. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Deal fever can be real. And actually, we once had like 16 deals at the same time under a contract all at once, trying to be finalized as one company. I understand the excitement, right? But the fastest way to burn out or go broke is to try to go and buy multiple businesses and before you ever stabilize or put even one company, right? So think about it. Focus on the first win, the first deal, get it humming, then scale up. Lesson number 11, learn to spot the real red flags. So what it means that it's not just about declining revenues. You want to look for things like bad bookkeeping, high customer churn. If one client is making up more than 30% of the revenue, that's a red flag. If owner is the business, if there's no business without the owner, meaning that if they leave, the thing dies, you need to pay attention. It's a red flag. So like for example, we had a client about to buy a digital agency where the owner was literally doing everything, the sales, client work, the billing, and we helped him and suggested him to walk away. And it, in my opinion, saved him at least 6 figures of his money and his investors' money, right? Let's move to lesson number 12. Always run worst case scenarios. So before you close on a deal, ask yourself, what happens if I lose a top customer? Or what happens if the revenue drops by 25%? If payroll goes up, can the business still survive in worst case scenarios? This one exercise, I think it's I think it's safe. It turns it into there like I think it's safe into I know it's safe. right? And that's where you want to be when you buy a business. And it's never safe, but you want to kind of like make sure that you look at the deal and understand, okay, when I'm the owner, what kind of revenues and profits am I going to see? Let's move to the lesson number 13. Don't rely on vibes. There's a lot of vibing coding right now. Use advisors. I know it's tempting to go out with your gut, but when you do $1 million plus deal, it's not the time to trust on vibes. Have a coach, have advisors to help you review financials, have a legal team on your due diligence, get a second opinion. Yes, it might cost you money, potentially only at closing on some of those advisors with success fee, but it's way cheaper than buying a bad deal, trust me. Lesson number 14. Let's be real, everything in life has risk. So buying a business isn't the real risk. Life is risky, right? You just need to pick the risks that have good odds of a good upside. And I think buying a business can be very asymmetric. Like again, compared to divorce, compared to job loss, accidents, failed startups, this is actually one of the smartest moves you can make, buying a good business. You can skip the startup phase. You can live a life with just one good deal that you always dreamed of. Which moves into lesson number 15. You only need one good deal. You don't need to build an empire right away. One good deal can change your life. One cleaning business, one HVAC company, one logistics firm. It doesn't matter. One good deal that pays you more than your job ever did. It gives you freedom. It builds real wealth. Then you can decide you want to do more deals or just have the lifestyle that you want. So if you're ready to stop dreaming and start owning a business, let's do it the smart way. Gonna put a link below if you want our help. Otherwise, rewatch this video, take notes, and go get that deal. Thank you.